Hi everybody, I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films. And this was glimpses of the country, that didn't seem right, country arts and crafts Japan, which was from the Mogul Brothers collection, and via the Oregon Archives collection. And so, yeah. Hold on, let me mute this. I always forget to mute my computer that I use to make sure that there's still a stream going. Man, yesterday was crazy. I recorded 3 shows. So I recorded the show that we did live with you. I recorded a special Patreon-only show with Joe Pickett from Found Footage Festival, where we talked about high blood pressure and our meds. Then I did the Saturday morning Dinah show, the final episode for this year, maybe, which I totally recommend checking out. And that's going to be on Found Footage Festival. And so, yes. So, where are we? Let's watch. Go back to 16mm. Yesterday was a long day. That's all I'm basically saying. And I didn't want to look at a screen, and certainly did not want to look at a little postage stamp image of myself. But here I am, back again, back on the horse, because I love you guys. All right, so here's Apollo Spacecraft. Enjoy.
When man journeys to the moon, he will use a large and complex transportation system. It's called Apollo Saturn. All told, the assembly is 363 feet high and at ignition weighs over 6 million pounds. Of this, the portion that will make the trip to the moon is the top 53 feet. The slender device at the very top is the launch escape system. If the launch is smooth and all systems operate properly, it is discarded early in the flight. The spacecraft consists of the command module, the service module, and the lunar module. The command module is crew quarters, cockpit, and headquarters for the 8-day voyage. This is the only portion of the spacecraft that will return to Earth. The atmosphere inside will be such that the astronauts will not have to endure the discomfort of wearing their bulky, pressure-tight spacesuits all the time. However, for safety and emergency reasons, one crew member will be in his spacesuit at all times. Directly below the command module is the service module. In a sense, this is the basement of the spacecraft. Here are the fuel cells that will generate the electricity required for the spacecraft, radio antennas, storage space for experimental equipment and tools, fuel and oxidizer tanks. For the service module also contains the main propulsion engine for lunar and Earth travel. As Apollo approaches the Earth, the service module is abandoned and the command module returns alone. At launch, the lunar module occupies the 3rd position in the spacecraft. During the lunar trajectory, the command module and the service module fly out about 100 feet, turn around, and come back to dock with the lunar module. As the spacecraft approaches the moon, it looks like this. The lunar module actually consists of 2 vehicles. the descent stage, which is mainly the landing gear and an engine that is gimbaled and can be throttled. And the ascent stage, consisting of yet another engine and cockpit or cabin portion. After the lunar exploration period, the descent stage is left on the moon, as the ascent stage lifts to rendezvous with the command module. After the crewmen transfer to the command module, the lunar module is left in lunar orbit, as the command module is steered into its homeward course. Command, service, and lunar modules, each performing an important job as man reaches for the moon.
What fascinates me about these films, and I digitized a bunch from NC State actually, where one of their alumnus he worked for a PR firm that worked with NASA, and so they had a bunch of these short things that they would show on television or show wherever. I'm not actually 100% sure, which would basically talk about the plans for Apollo, and so you see some stuff that's just like barely animated, kind of like a lunar module, and so it's all about what leads up to it. And I really dig that whole process because it talks about how much work it took to do that, and then also the music is really good. So all right, so earlier this week I tried to show you an episode of Camera 3, which was on WCBS, and had a lot of poets, drama, etc. And it was essentially, this was about Second City. And the film could not run through the scanner because it was basically warped enough that it wasn't contacting with the perfs. Gesundheit. One of my assistants sneezed. We're gonna pick it back up and see what Ned Polsky is up to. So I'm gonna hit play and then I'm gonna advance it a little bit. So, and the reason I was able to capture it was that we have another machine that doesn't rely on perfs to move the film through. So here we go. Camera 3, Second City, already in progress. Enjoy.
Very uniform.
Polsky. This is Ned Polsky back in New York, CBS News Roundup. Certainly one of the big stories of the year was the congressional hearings looking into the indoctrination of our troops with certain political matter and so on. For more on that story, we'd like to interview one side of the question. We'd like to take you back to West Berlin, right next to the West Berlin Wall, as a matter of fact, where again our roving correspondent, Ned Polsky, is on the scene to interview Colonel Clevis of the United States Army. Take it away, Ned Polsky.
Thank you, Ned. This is Ned Polsky here in West Berlin. We're waiting for the arrival of Colonel John Clevis, who's going to tell us something about brainwashing, the way it's practiced in Berlin today by the communists.
Hey, listen, get
Here comes the colonel now. He's walking this way, looking dapper and trim for his 57 years. Approaching the camera area.
Hey, listen here, soldier. What kind of a uniform do you call that?
No, I'm not a soldier, sir. I'm Ned Polsky from CBS. How do you do?
Oh, I'm very glad to do that to those.
Very nice to meet you, sir.
Yes, very happy
I
to
can't
do
help but notice that you're wearing your helmet today, sir. Is that to protect you in case any action breaks out here in Berlin?
No, Ned, I just fall down a lot.
I see. Sir, maybe you could tell us exactly what it is you do here in West Berlin.
I'll be happy to do that, Ned. Here in West Berlin, in this embattled city just yards away from the communist menace, we are mounting the bastions of the American way of life in this tender underbelly of democracy, where we are keeping a corridor of freedom open to this Achilles heel of NATO. And what we are doing, Ned, we are maintaining a training school for our brave GI boys to protect them against the communist menace of brainwashing.
So in other words, so you're running a training school, is that right?
Right with Eversharp, yeah.
Fine. Now, as far as brainwashing itself is concerned, I know that it came into common usage sometime during the Korean conflict.
Yes, it
But I
did.
don't know exactly how it ties into the present situation.
I'll
Maybe
be
you could
happy to straighten you
straighten
out
us
on that, Ned. Brainwashing today occurs when the commies actually get a hold of one of our brave GI boys. See, they'll grab him and they'll whisk him away to some underground cell or secret laboratory crammed full of diabolical equipment. And when they get him there, Ned, they wash his brain. I mean, I could show you some photographs of dry, chapped brains that would make your stomach cringe. And when we get a boy like that back again, Ned, he's no good to us. I mean, he's just a walking fountain of communistic propaganda. He'll walk around spouting phrases like Wall Street imperialists or capitalist warmongers. And the poor soul doesn't even realize he's just repeating those phrases parrot-like, that they've been drilled into him by these atheistic totalitarian aggressors.
Sir, what would you say is the best defense against this brainwashing?
Well, Ned, I would say the best and only defense against brainwashing is an unshakable, unswervable faith in the American way of life. If you haven't got it here, you haven't got it, Ned.
Well put, sir. For the benefit of those of you who are listening on the radio, Colonel Clevis just went like this. Now, sir, I'd like to ask you, what happens if one of these boys doesn't have this unswervable, unshakable faith?
Well, Ned, that's basically a mental problem. I mean, it's what's up front that counts, and that's exactly where our training program comes in, Ned. We try to instill some of that faith into our brave GI boy.
Well, how do you do that, sir?
We drill it into them day after day after day.
And by what means?
Well, we use the finest audiovisual tools, Ned. For example, we have a very fine film called Operation Abolition. That was put out by our fine House Un-American Activities Committee, you know. We show the boys that film a few times, and they begin to understand.
Would you mind telling us about how many times it takes?
Oh, 80 or 90 times, and they've got the picture.
80 or 90, that
Yeah.
many. I imagine this would take place during about a 2 or 3 week period.
That's the first day, Ned.
Oh, my. Sir, am I right in assuming that this program took place under the auspices of General Wacker?
Yes.
And that you worked under him in the...
Indeed I did, yes, Ned.
Well, how do you feel about him, sir?
He's a pinko in my book, Ned.
I see. Thank you, sir. We now take you back to New York Central.
This is Ned Polsky, CBS News Roundup continuing. Certainly this is a big year for the state of California. We understand this year that state will exceed in population every other state of the nation. Certainly the 19th century was a big century for the state of California. As you remember, it was the year of the great gold rush, the opening up of California, its development, and so on. There has been the charge that many people out there in California, the citizens of that state, have never left the 19th century. We'd like to perhaps disprove that charge, and right now we'd like to take you out to L.A. City College in Los Angeles, where, our roving correspondent, Ned Polsky, is on the scene. Ned, take it away.
Thank you, Ned. This is Ned Polsky here on the front steps of the administration building at Los Angeles City College, and we're waiting for the arrival of Dr. Orestes Frown, who's a professor here. Hello, sir. Dr. Frown?
Hello, Ned.
Ned
I've heard
Polsky,
about you.
CBS.
Am I on television?
Yes, you are, sir.
Yes. Hello, America.
Sir, you are a professor here at Los Angeles City College.
Yes, I am a full professor of eurythmics.
Of eurythmics?
Yes.
Could you explain what that is, sir?
Yes, well, eurythmics is the study of movement. I mean, you find it on Etruscan wall frescoes. Way back then, there are Babylonian remains, of course. It's really fascinating. I've been
Well,
in
that's
it for
very
years.
interesting to know, sir. Thank
I'd
you
like
very
to
much.
talk to you about it sometime.
Sometime we'll get together and
Yes,
talk about that.
wonderful.
But right now, we're here to discuss your recent appearance before the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Yes, that was because I am a member of the John Birch Society.
As I understand it, you hold an executive position.
Yes, I have an executive committee. I'm on the Committee for Rules.
The Committee for Rules.
Yes, I have a very high position on that.
I see. You also work for a few other organizations.
Oh, yes, I'm a joiner. I founded, I believe, the first militant boy fascists for liberty movement in California. I am an elder in the Church of Atomic Science, and of course, I discovered and founded and led the North American Society for the Anti-Fluoridation Discussion League.
Oh, you're against fluoridation, sir?
I oppose any discussion of fluoridation,
I
yes.
see. Sir, would you mind telling us some of the things you said in front of the House Un-American Activities Committee?
Well, yes, I don't mind at all. I want everyone to know I gave them my name, my address, and I pleaded the Fifth Amendment 147 times.
147 times?
Yes.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, sir, the Birch Society takes a very strong view of people who plead the Fifth at all.
Oh, yes. Anyone who pleads the Fifth Amendment is a communist.
Well, sir, that would make you a communist, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. Yes, je suis un communiste. I am a communist.
Well, somehow I find that difficult to believe, sir. You just got through telling me that you're a member of the John Birch Society.
Yes, I am a member of the John Birch Society.
Well, I find it difficult to believe that a member of the John Birch Society would be simultaneously a communist.
Yes, I find it hard to believe myself. I wake up screaming. I mean, I really have hot and cold flashes when I think about it.
But, sir, you just this minute got through telling me that you were a communist.
You can't believe a communist.
Thank you, sir. This is Ned Polsky. We return you now to Ned Polsky, who is on the street somewhere in New York.
Thank you very much, Ned Polsky. This is Ned Polsky with our Man in the Street interview, our daily interview. We're going to be asking some of those cogent questions you've sent in to anybody. Oh, hello, sir.
Hello.
Would you answer some questions on our Man in the Street interview?
Oh, not at all.
Yes. What is your name, sir?
Michael Strange, Public Relations.
Who do you work for?
I'm working for the federal government.
Oh, well, if it's not classified information, can you tell us exactly what it is you're working on now?
Oh, no, it's not classified information, actually. We're currently preparing the American people for permanent nuclear testing.
Well, that certainly opens up a broad area for questioning, especially since the Russians have just announced that they feel they have a moral right to resume testing because we resumed testing.
Yes.
Because they resumed testing.
That's
But
right.
to get back to the Russian tests last fall in the atmosphere, did you feel they were right?
No. Clearly, those Russian tests were wrong.
Well, then, of course, you feel the tests we ourselves are presently conducting over Johnston Island are also wrong.
Oh, no. Our president has stated that those tests are necessary. Therefore, I think those tests are right.
You feel it's right to be wrong?
Oh, no, I don't think it's right to be wrong, but you must remember that in the past, the Russians have committed many wrongs, and we're merely righting those wrongs.
Yes, but we have to be careful not to wrong anyone in righting those Russian wrongs, don't we?
Well, I think it's wrong to say that we're going to wrong anybody's rights in righting Russian wrongs, because after all, we're on the side of right.
As far right as possible, yes.
That's right. And of course, the Russians are in the wrong on the left. Well, we don't want to be left behind in this race for better weapons in men's minds.
Just a minute, before you leave me behind, what about the question of the contamination of the atmosphere? Do you feel that's right?
Well, my boy, after all, who today in the world really knows the difference between right and wrong, right?
You may be right.
Not at all. With the advent of Telstar, naturally television is concerned about the quality of its programs it's going to be beaming abroad. This morning, we'd like to show you a proposed pilot television series put out by one of our giant corporations, utilizing Madison Avenue techniques to sell our Western way of life. This television series is called The Adventures of Businessman. Faster than a speeding ticker tape. More powerful than a goon squad. Able to leap loopholes with a single bound. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Businessman. Yes, Businessman, who in the guise of mild-mannered Pierce Fenner, ace reporter for the Kiplinger Letter, fights unfair business practices and struggles to maintain the status quo of the underdog. The scene is Cape Canaveral. Pierce Fenner is on an assignment.
Ah, the moon is lovely tonight. Hello, what's this? My Biznatector is receiving blips from the moon. Why, a spaceship from the adversary nation has landed. This could dash the hopes for freedom of millions of captive peoples everywhere. This is clearly a job for...
Businessman. So it's out of these effeminate horn rims into my Ivy League suit, and it's up, and away! Here I am on the moon. Zounds! It's my arch nemesis and communist bloc alter ego, Collective Man!
Hoo-ha! Greetings, businessman.
Hoo-ha?
It's a colloquialism.
Oh, yes.
I claim the moon for the workers of the world.
Have a care, sir. While my heart beats, the moon shall never know the rule of labor camp or secret police. In the name of humanity, I bid you depart.
Not while I have a breath left. Here, take this. The irresistible historical momentum of the workers' movement. Potchki!
Yes, but you take this, the 30-hour week, pow, and collective bargaining, zowie!
It didn't hurt a bit. Now you take this. The upthrust of Asian and African nations for economic and proletarian solidarity. Vanishka!
Knocked the wind out of me with that one. Aha, but you take this, the growing economic might of the common market. Squish!
I didn't expect that one, businessman. But you take this. 17 orbits around the Earth. Schmuck!
Operation Sunrise in South Vietnam. Bang!
The abortive invasion of Cuba. Gruznik!
The Seattle World's Fair. Crash!
Hey, leaping lizards! You've foiled me this time, businessman. But do not worry. We will meet again, I fear.
Lorioski, collective man. I know we'll meet again. That's just another grim reminder that the war against ignorance and slavery is never won. So it's up, and away! Hello, what's this? My business radio is warning me of trouble. Why, there's unrest brewing in an unnamed South American republic. Another job for a businessman.
Help! Help! The peasants are revolting. I am the president.
Revolution! Revolution!
Stop! Don't you ignorant peasants realize you can't overthrow a freely elected military junta?
But taking over is the only way that can save us.
Perhaps, but before you take over, you must tighten your belts to make your economy worth taking over. Now, the only way you can do that is by attracting foreign capital. And the only way you can do that, surely, is by forgetting about this revolution nonsense. That's what we mean by the Alliance for Progress.
But we are starving and oppressed.
Of course you are, but first put your country on a business-like basis.
Oh, how do we do that, businessman?
By selling it to the United Fruit Company.
You cannot ask us to make such a sacrifice.
I not only can, I do. Our fine young president has told us that this is a time of sacrifice for all Americans. Our sacrifice is to bear the heavy burden of guilt for the low standard of living which is your sacrifice. However, as a gesture of goodwill, we are going to tear down all the old slums in your country and put up new ones. Here are the blueprints.
Hey, what is that?
That is the blueprint of a 20-story housing project. It typifies a new American architectural concept known as packaging the poor.
Joselito, look, little balconies for the pigs and chickens.
Of course.
Businessman has saved us.
Ah, fiesta!
Businessman, stay for a South American fiesta.
No. You people relax and enjoy yourselves. But for businessmen, there can be no rest. So I'm off to Brazil to protect the investments of Edward Gilbert. And it's up, and away!
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
If you want the revolution, you can't do it without the Pentagon. This program has come your way through the courtesy of the CIA. CIA.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press and the Herald Tribune, we are gathered here today to offer you a rare and unusual opportunity, what you might call a pre-summit meeting press conference. We have with us today Chairman Khrushchev, Chairman Khrushchev's interpreter, Mr. Tsurapkin, and of course, President Kennedy. President Kennedy and Chairman Khrushchev will be happy to answer any and all questions.
The Premier will be happy to answer any questions you have to give him.
I, of course, will be happy to answer all questions. I'd like to point out, of course, that these are perilous times.
What is President Kennedy's position on West Berlin?
Well, certainly, this administration, I think, has made it very clear. My judgment, our position in West Berlin has been stated many times, but to go over it very briefly, I'd like to say that we, of course, rejected Premier Khrushchev's bid that we withdraw the Western troops from West Berlin and replace them with United Nations troops. We feel, this administration feels, that we have a moral as well as a legal right to be there, and we're not going to run out of fear. On the other hand, we shouldn't fear to run. And I'd like to take this opportunity to state to the American people that if you want peace, you must certainly fight for it. And the more you want peace, the more you must fight for it. And if you want permanent peace, you must be prepared for permanent conflict.
Well, how about Mr. Khrushchev? What does he think about the Berlin Wall?
Как мы здесь сейчас как мы на Берлин пишет, я не just
Как вода не мирать.
What wall?
I think the chairman thinks he can remember the wall.
Was не вешает, как мы здесь видит. И что вы за мен, это вешает.
Я им доверенец, как я виноват. Крем давал надеть, как я думал доверенец. Странно, гадам give those that does nigga. Как рабал там не бац. Стрим да гадам give the day the Богом молов. Стрим даз надеть, ком тебе will дез не видит родом куда вадавац.
The Premier feels that the existence of the wall is absolutely necessary for the peace of East and West Germany. For in the words of a very famous Russian poet, good fences make good neighbors.
I would like, if possible, to get both gentlemen's views on the recent stock market decline.
Well, of course, I stated the other day that we felt, this administration felt, in our judgment, that this was not a decline, but rather a market that was realigning itself more realistically with the economy. And I would again like to take this opportunity to commend the infinite wisdom and insight of the American people in compelling me, upon taking office, to convert my stocks into bonds.
Стрим таков задний, так там делал доведет не вяй. Стрим да знаю, куда мне водоволц. Стрим да не год я вяй. Стрим да там дед. Стрим как он делал, да мне да странно я удивлял, как я давать. Ха-ха.
If you read your Engels, you will see that the American people are reaping the bitter fruit from the capitalistic harvest. The Premier, though, was very fortunate to sell 4 months ago AT&T, Florida Gas and Electric, and Revlon.
Could I have both gentlemen's opinions of a possible cessation on nuclear testing, please?
Well, we, of course, have ceased testing over Christmas Island. Our tests are continuing over Johnson and, of course, in Nevada, underground, and on the desert. And I would say that this is a form of nuclear, rather unilateral disarmament in the nuclear field, because what we are doing there, for every nuclear weapon that we are detonating, we're depleting our supply by one. But we feel that these tests must continue towards the finding or the determining of an ultimate deterrent, which, of course, is the neutron bomb. I need to point out that this bomb, of course, still on the drawing board, and these tests will hope to turn it out, is a bomb that does destroy life, it kills people, but it leaves buildings, monuments, and edifices standing. And it's the judgment of this administration that this is much more in keeping with the American way, the preservation of the home.
Стрим да не вяй.
Дома.
Дома, когда мне болеет. Да знали, кем тебе это. Стрим ком тебе дал мне, здесь ты родной, ты когда болеет. Стрим да кодозни, ты раbaznай. Кеп тебе дал да мне важнич, стрим да кодзавяц. Стрим да на языком тебе был день. Им брата знали, куда не выйдет ниц. Им крагат важни, до днем дед ниц. До вас дед ниц. Как это мне малдит? Да мне малдит.
You must trust us. The Premier wants peace. The Russian people want peace. And anyone that comes in the way of that peace will be destroyed.
President Kennedy? President Kennedy?
Yes, Miss McClendon, you have a question?
How would you assess your brother Teddy's qualifications to be senator from Massachusetts, sir?
Well, of course, Teddy is hoping to get that experience, as Bobby is getting his. And certainly, we hope he is elected in the coming fall campaign, because he's very vital to our timetable. I'll go over it very briefly again for you. As you know, I'll be re-elected in 64. It'll be Bobby in 68 and 72, and Teddy, of course, in 76 and 80. And after that, you have 1984.
Mr. Khrushchev, where's Mr. Molotov?
Как вы знаете, товарищ Молотов, мужик?
Не доброват, не друг. Курам... Что ну голод мод водазни, курам довест ничего. Teraz nawet nie gotować.
Comrade Molotov is on vacation. He is neither here nor there.
What does Chairman Khrushchev think of Mrs. Kennedy?
Madame Kennedy.
I'd like to say, before he answers that certainly this administration takes a very broad view of Mrs. Khrushchev.
Штут? Брал знам ди года в девиндезниц. Штрем нагаnem девде Bogomolov.
Bogomolov.
Штра знай год ям я им брезде знай год ям бял вернич. Крест вас знай год ям бял родова давняц.
The Premier has just repeated the very famous Bogomolov proverb known to every Russian schoolchild. It's lovely. When the butterfly flies over the wheat fields, even the sweating crickets stand up to applaud.
I'd like to ask both gentlemen, who'll be first to the moon?
Well, I think certainly on behalf of this administration, if you've been following our space program in Life magazine, you'll realize that we, of course, are moving ahead very aggressively in this technological field. And we hope very shortly, within the next 10 or 20 years, to have a man on the moon. But certainly, within our first probes, if we do miss, we will be the first nation in the world to have an astronaut on the sun.
Штут? Передаздам ди года мне велдезничать. Tego dam dziawiec i zdazniale, kudem się wyradazne, czy to wzdzielni. I kiedy, mi dzieło da zmikać. Staram do ziem dziel, da tam kiem do wydaznić. Teraz na to kudem się wydaznić, czy to rodom nie wydać.
The Premier says, unfortunately, because of several delays, we cannot put the entire city of Odessa on the moon until much later. That is, until late tomorrow afternoon.
Штырым на году мне. Как вы там девять?
No, I'll be all right.
Идем на воду, из барабанню, куда я
It's all right.
Camera 3 is presented in cooperation with the New York State Education Department. This has been a presentation of the Public Affairs Department, WCBS-TV, New York.
A fabled city in a magic era is captured today in a nostalgic tribute to New York in the 20s. It's the New York of H.L. Mencken, Fanny Brice, and Texas Guinan, George Gershwin, and Edna St. Vincent Millay. Let nostalgia be your guide to this Baghdad on the subway when the 20th century brings you the picture, the people, and the mood of New York in the 20s later today. Tonight, most of these stations bring you a light-hearted comedy with a lovely lady. Irene Dunn stars as a politically minded housewife who's told to go fight City Hall, and she does. Follow her determined course with comedy at every step in tonight's General Electric Theater. If you'd like to make a lasting contribution to human welfare at a critical time in history, you may consider a career in the Peace Corps. Right now, 6,000 volunteers are being sought. The Peace Corps offers courageous and qualified Americans an opportunity to help build a better world. For information, write to the Peace Corps, Washington 25, D.C. There may be a job only you can do.
Not everybody's cup of tea, but it resonates with me because I like that type of humor, obviously, and it was an improv troupe, and then I think they developed this thing that they did, and I think Second City was on Camera 3 at least 2 other times, not political stuff, just general culture stuff. So, but anyways, to see Alan Arkin and to see some of the others who show up in TV and movies from that time period is pretty great. Alright, so behind me I have a film scanner, and we're going to watch a film. It's called Emergencies in the Making, and I don't know what type of emergencies it's going to be, so brace yourself. Here we go. Enjoy.
Why don't we learn to look out for the little things that cause us so much pain? Why do we do these things out of stupid? Won't you please explain? Why, oh why can't more of us try? Why, oh why can't more of us try? Life is full for the living, and many are the joys for you to share. But the living and the joys are cold and hollow for someone if you're not there. Why, oh why can't more of us try?
The continent upon which we live is a big one. Hundreds of thousands of miles of roads and highways take us anywhere we want to go. Road signs, often in a language other than our own, point the way. Most of us live out our lives here on this continent. How we do it varies, depending on our culture, where we live, and on our way of life. Our interests and tastes differ too. Yet, with all our differences, we are for the most part a people with many things in common. For one thing, we're always on the move. A people who get where we're going and back on wheels, and usually by car. Oh, dear. That is, unless something goes wrong. As a people, we like our cars and shop for one or more periodically. Most of us are proud of the cars we own. And as a rule, most of us take care of them, good care of them. And yet, all too often, many of our cars end up looking like this, or this, or this. Because some of us didn't look out for the little things. Senseless, silly little things. No matter where we travel in this automobile-oriented world we live in, there's only one sure way to avoid an emergency. We must learn to think. not only of the present moment, but things ahead. We must learn to always expect the unexpected. Most of us have learned to think about the big, obvious dangers in driving, and yet, who hasn't watched something like this take place? Most of us expect danger here. Even these people do. They know speed is a major factor in traffic deaths. What they haven't counted on is the unexpected. Most of us know better and therefore drive at more reasonable speeds, stopping where necessary. We observe traffic signs and the more obvious regulations, but sometimes overlook the little things. We have learned that passing on a hill is dangerous, and most of us never do it. Yet, how often have you seen someone take this chance? The same is true when taking a chance passing on a curve. Be on your guard when driving in an outside lane at multiple turn intersections. Even though this red car is in a turn lane only, the driver may decide to go straight ahead. Whenever the view ahead is blocked, expect an emergency. Train yourself to expect the unexpected. Not only from cars, but from pedestrians, too. Most emergencies in the making fall into one of 5 groups. Let's call the first the other guy. The other guy comes in all sizes and shapes and can be of either sex. Normally, the other guy comes equipped with 2 ears and a head in between. But who can really tell what's going on inside that head? All you can do is watch for clues. Take, for example, the other guy in the red car ahead. It's apparent he's weaving in front of you. But what does it mean? Well, it might mean the other guy is drunk. On the other hand, that he's falling asleep. Then again, maybe he's ill. Still, the weaving might merely indicate the other guy is a stranger in the area and is busy looking for house numbers. Could be maybe he's looking at a map as he drives. Or being human, maybe he's taking in the sights. Whether driving a car or a motorcycle, be on your guard for someone possibly making a button-hook turn. When the light turns green and you're trapped behind a vehicle that doesn't move, don't be impatient. There may be a reason. Here's another cause of accidents. The fellow who slows down sharply to make his exit. The culprit, as he moves off the ramp, isn't even aware of the emergency he created. Pedestrians often run great risks. Especially elderly people. They're walking habits were formed in days when traffic was light. Even when crossing with the pedestrian crossing light, an elderly person may not make it to the other side before the light changes. Wait until they cross. Pedestrians often get bewildered when trapped in heavy traffic. If this man you see trapped here had pushed the button controlling this traffic light, he would have had a sufficiently long walk light, as much as twice the length of the interval when the lights run automatically. The second group you should watch out for, we'll call kids. They too come in all sizes and shapes. As any parent will tell you, $1 million couldn't buy one. Yet a few seconds of carelessness could have cost this child her life. Wherever you see kids, be on your guard. They're unpredictable. They normally don't think about danger. Their thoughts are only on their game. Be especially alert when passing parked cars or obstructions. It's up to you, the driver, to avoid an emergency in the making. And remember, when a kid's after some ice cream, he's not going to think about cars. When driving anywhere near kids on bikes, be careful. Most kids weave. A kid on a bike too big for him usually has trouble handling it. Always watch out for kids showing off. As for the third group of emergencies in the making, let's call them road conditions. When it begins to rain, for example, most of us turn on the wiper blades and continue on our way. Few of us really realize how dangerous the first few minutes of rain can be for a driver. Good drivers do, and always slow down when the rain begins. They know that the dust of ground-up rubber and oil drippings from countless cars, when mixed with the rain, can make a road slick. Always slow down when it begins to rain. The first few minutes are the most dangerous. After it has rained for a while, the rubber dust and the oil are washed away. Play it safe. Do what the driver of this car is doing. Keep speed down until you're sure of road conditions. Always keep in mind, road conditions can vary for any number of reasons. Pay particular attention to construction areas. Dirt deposited on roadways can cause problems too. With a little rain, dirt will turn into mud, increasing the chances of a skid. Also, be careful of roads with loose gravel or sand. The fourth group contributing to emergencies in the making, let's call Mother Nature. Winter weather, with its snow and ice, present all kinds of problems to motorists, even before they get in their cars. Anyone accustomed to snow and ice knows he has to drive slowly and cautiously. To increase visibility, make certain you have an efficient defroster and good wiper blades. Always clean your blades before driving. On cool or damp mornings, when your windshield is likely to fog up, start your defroster before you drive off. Otherwise, the entire windshield might fog up instantly when you flip on the defroster. For increased traction, drive with snow tires or chains. In many areas, it is mandatory when snow emergency plans are in effect. Chains are easier than most people realize to install. Now, was that so difficult to do? Drive slowly on hard-packed snow or ice. Hazards increase greatly with speed. Even with snow tires or chains, stopping distances must be increased. Drive very slowly. Expect the unexpected, and the unexpected will never materialize. Even in good weather, Mother Nature can be a contributing factor in a potential emergency. Remember, speed should always go down with the sun. The sun shining directly in your eyes may blind you. As it sets, use your sun visors to block the sun. Visibility decreases at night. Avoid sunglasses after dusk. Never overdrive your headlights. You never know what may be beyond the range of your headlights, so be prepared to stop. Never look directly into oncoming headlights. Instead, focus on the side of the road, such as on a sideline marking. If one light is all you see in the approaching lane, pull to the right as far as possible. It could be a motorcycle, but it's more likely to be a car with a malfunctioning headlight. Never drive with a dirty windshield, especially at night. Smoking can cause driving problems too. It may cause a film to form on the inside of the windshield, decreasing your ability to see at night. As for the fifth group contributing to emergencies in the making, let's call it us. That's right, you and me. There are things each of us do or don't do that can get us or some other person in trouble. Always check behind the car before starting up. Never permit a child to stand in the front seat of a moving car. Many a devoted mother who wouldn't think of neglecting her child in other ways risks the child's life every day. Here's another situation only you can control. Never apply brakes on a curb. If you do, you may skid. Instead, when approaching the curve, apply your brakes before you reach the curve. If you do, you'll round the curve safely without skid or side sway. Wherever you drive, whether it's for business or pleasure, keep in mind that emergencies are always in the making. Remember the 5 groups making up an emergency. Only you can keep them from turning into accidents. Drive carefully, and regardless of what side of the border you drive on, avoid emergencies in the making. Enjoy this big, beautiful continent on which you live.
Why don't we look out for the little things that cause us pain? Why do we do these things that are stupid? Won't you explain? Why, oh why, can't more of us try? Why, oh why, can't more of us try? Why, oh why, can't more of us try?
So, Gene Starbecker, our one of our favorite film directors, and I had an inkling it was him because at the very beginning there was a song that had lyrics, and that is something that other Gene Starbecker productions have that, and then that narrator, man, that's the narrator from Is a Career in Whatever for You. And he also, I don't think I showed it on here. He did Death Zones. He did And Then It Happened, which were those 2 outrageous bus safety films where buses flip over and people get killed, and outrageous. But I also think he had something to do with the Fun or Dumb series, which also has a song, has songs. So this one, we're just going to add this to the collection. And is this a toe tapper? Some of you said yes. Let's see. But I was very excited to see this, to discover a new Starbecker in our collection. And thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Kevin, for donating some money for the Camera 3 episode. Very much appreciate your eyeballs and your support, and you can support us by hitting thumbs up, by hitting like, by subscribing, by buying us coffee, by hitting the super thanks button. Give us a little bit of cash that we will spend on, what will we spend it on? Tape measures. What happens is I get a tape measure, and then I go into the stacks of films, and I measure something, and I put it down, and then I can't find it again. So I had to buy more tape measures. So that is one of the things that we spend money on here. But thanks again for tuning in. If you like what you saw, we've got, if you're on Found Footage Festival's Patreon, I recorded a thing about high blood pressure, and we watched some films and videos about high blood pressure, like a really whacked out one that was made in the 80s or 90s. Then also the Dinah show, Saturday morning Dinah show. We are going to talk about Land of the Lost, and that show deserves a rewatch in my mind because it is mind-bending, and it was actually written by a bunch of different sci-fi writers too. So check that out tomorrow. That's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Found Footage Festival page on YouTube. What else? I don't know. If you like what you saw, you can watch other stuff on our channel. But again, appreciate your eyeballs and your comments. And I will see you again on Monday. Everybody take care.